This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Oh, they say it's the dog days of summer. Not really, with the way that the sports calendar has been popping off this summer. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Welcome into Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We are busy. Wimbledon on our screens, the World Cup as we are nearing. Oh, and as I look up, we just go final, so no longer nearing final. England gets the win over DR Congo to kick off the day in the World Cup action, and it was looking spicy and dicey there for a moment for England, who's a minus 1,000 favorite to advance. We were tied at 1 until the 75th minute. Well, as somebody who has England in a parlay, and unfortunately, I laid 1.5 goals today.
Of all the weeks for you to do this, of all the weeks for you to do this,
what do you mean?
You're going to team with the dirty colonizers right before our nation's 250th birthday.
As you are giving the full USA Ralph Macchio on the desk. For our radio audience, he's got a full star-spangled headband.
The bit would have been better if you just didn't say anything the entire show, if I just wore this.
You can't not acknowledge it. It matches the shirt, though. Was the shirt intentional?
It was.
You stole this from Kelly Bidlin, though, from what I understand.
Surprisingly irritated by this result.
Because of Mexico?
Yeah. Like, this just said, no, and I still think England is going to have a tough time, and we'll talk about the Mexican result as well. But you're in Atlanta today. Now, after this win, you got to travel, go down to Mexico City to take on Mexico. The Mexicans have a very strong history playing international competition in that stadium as well. You're playing at altitude, so it's not the best spot for the English, but obviously having DR Congo in that situation would have been better for the Mexicans if that's the case.
Fair to say, yes. I will say for England here, Harry Kane, the
hero.
Ghana spell has clearly worn off here. Yes, he plays hero. He not only has the game winner in the 75th minute, but he scores both goals for England today. So cash the minus 165 anytime goal scorer bets. If you're somebody who's been putting together these 2+ goal props on the Stars, you cash again, plus 370 on that one. Because you mentioned the history, though, for Estadio Azteca for Mexico, unbeaten in all 10 World Cup matches at the venue. Mexico, I didn't realize it goes back this far, having played close to 150 games there and have only lost 8 times.
Do you have the year that they last lost? Because I have
2013.
Yeah. It has been a long time.
Crazy.
So they have done really well there. It sets up a really fascinating game. You know, the Mexicans are obviously playing well. Only team in the World Cup so far that is the one to win all of their games without conceding a goal. So they have done a brilliant job defensively. And they seem to be a very quality team, especially when you talk about the coaching and their tactics so far. Obviously, it's a massive step up in competition here when you talk about England coming in. But again, really not unfair, but disadvantageous situation for England to have to travel and go up there. So, man, I am looking forward to that game on Sunday.
I know you were out at Arts District watching the game yesterday. How was the environment there? Was it as lit as you thought and hoped it would be?
1,000% yes. And I'll say this, Mike Palm talks about it. We talk about it from the sense of live betting.
Sure.
Man, you got to figure out some of these streams. So where I was at a certain spot, because there was one spot we were going to go to, got pretty crowded, so we went quite literally around the corner to the next restaurant. They were sitting us on the patio. But the big party that was behind us, their feed was very clearly about 35 seconds ahead.
Okay.
So you'd be sitting there watching, and you hear this massive cheer from behind us, and you're like, "What the heck is that?" Like they're taking a hydration break, and then 30 seconds later, right? I'm being hyperbolic, but still, and then 30 seconds later, you would see the goal. So you got to figure this out in 2026.
That also literally happened in my own household yesterday.
Yeah.
I was doing some things like cleaning my bathroom last night during the game, and I had it on my phone watching. And right before that, as that second goal was scored, I ran in to tell my husband Chris, because I had the under 2. I was like, okay, great. They've already got 2 goals early in this thing. I'm toast. That's over. And he hadn't even seen the goal yet on our main TV in the living room. So it happened in my own household yesterday. That said, we will talk more World Cup in a moment, but we need to set the table with everything else as it come. Big 2 hours on deck here for Money Moves. Time for the rundown.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is the rundown.
I guess this first item is a little bit appropriate coming off of the streak we just mentioned for Mexico in their home venue, but we're going streaking today in Major League Baseball. Close on, folks. Several teams across the MLB on winning or losing streaks. We're going to have a little fun discussion on whether or not some of them will continue, and a home run streak as well for a player you think could be worth a bet in the awards markets.
Yep, got to talk about all of it. And for me, at least, a streak is 3 or more games. Some of these pitiful 2-game winning streaks do not count. So we're talking about the Rays who have won 6 straight, the Yankees who have lost 6 straight, and more. We'll discuss those. By the way, a couple of these games on some of these streaks in action right now. Baltimore Orioles doing their best to try to break out of this slump that they're in. Bottom of the 5th inning, bases loaded against the Chicago White Sox. So we'll see if they can snap that. Also worth mentioning, since we're on this topic, Cleveland Guardians just knocked around Mackenzie Gore. He was hanging on by a thread, and sure enough, cost up 5 earned in 2 innings, and the Guardians, are up 5-0. Speaking of streaks, Rangers have their own going, and now they are down 5-0.
We will have plenty of NBA conversation as well, even though it's the offseason. Trades are aplenty. Free agency, who's going to go where, including LeBron James. We learned yesterday at the end of the show, we got that breaking news that Kawhi Leonard is officially headed over to the Toronto Raptors. We'll dive a little bit deeper on that, as well as figuring out and talking through some of the odds for the LeBron James sweepstakes.
Well, we got to tie in the Los Angeles Lakers. The rumor is they're calling them Tres Leches out there in Los Angeles. The 3 milks, as Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and now Walker Kessler are all going to be teammates together after a busy morning for the Los Angeles Lakers, too. So we got a lot going on. A lot of the rumblings from free agency, minor moves, but it seems like the Lakers are doing their best to put a team around Luka Doncic.
A little college football and NFL news to digest, but like we said, let's kick this thing off the way we have to with the World's Game. We acknowledged the Mexico result yesterday, but the French are coming. Ladies and gentlemen, an unbelievable match for France yesterday, who overtakes Sweden 3-0. I felt pretty good about my handicap on France laying 1.5 goals there. Obviously, that comes through for us. Knowing the crazy offensive talent that France has, Sweden and their lackluster defense, all of it ends up coming together. Kylian Mbappe as well, with 2 of those 3 goals, as he now surges to your favorite for Golden Boot at even money. Lionel Messi, really close there on the odds board as well. Plus 125, plus 130 range as Argentina gets set to take on Cape Verde Friday. They're minus 2,500 favorites to ultimately win that game. You have to imagine he'll continue to deliver the way that he has. But France, a team that has been the favorite, putting their foot down early in the round of 32.
Cape Verde, huh?
That's how it's said, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I figured that's why I asked.
It's not Mexican,
you look it up. Either way, look, I would think that I'd still take a stab at Messi to win this Golden Boot, considering the path here. But I think you're right, and we've talked about this, and Mitch and I hit this on Pod of the Futures, because you can bet these exact matchups, and it's chalky, obviously, but I'd be somewhat surprised if the French and the Argentines are not on a collision course here with each other in a final matchup. It seems like that would be the case. The French offensively seem almost unstoppable at this point right now. Crazier things have happened. Soccer can be hockey-esque in that there is some stupidity and volatility with the way that the game is played. So maybe they could find themselves in one of those contests. But I think when you look at the way that they're playing and the way the bracket sets up for the French too, that's also setting up pretty nicely. Obviously, Paraguay gets the upset, so now you get to face them on Saturday.
They totally luck out with that draw, by the way.
Absolutely. And then you get the winner of Canada, Morocco. Obviously, we know with Canada missing a key piece in their midfield, that happened in the group play too. And then getting whatever comes out of the bottom portion of your bracket after that. So it sets up pretty nicely for the French. And you got to think that even on top of their skill, that they are in the driver's seat to at the very least make an appearance here in the championship game, and in at the very least a semifinal berth.
Well, and that's what my favorite bet that I did on the pre-flop of the tournament was France to make the semifinal plus 130. So we're feeling good about the path, at least to get there when all is said and done. They are your short shots on the board. As far as Argentina and Messi goes, I did want to say, give Cape Verde credit. They've been stingy defensively. In 3 group stage matches, only gave up 2 goals, which included their opener where they stunned France in that 0-0 draw. So I'm just going to put it out there. Maybe Messi could take a little bit of a step back. Like, Cape Verde's better than people think, at least what we've seen to this point. Now, we have 1 result in the bag this morning, as we mentioned off the top. 2 more matches still to come today. Belgium, Senegal at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. And then the big dog Americans getting to go tonight against Bosnia and Herzegovina. By the way, we will have Brian Ching on the program coming up in about 25 minutes or so. Former U.S. men's national team member, give his breakdown of the match and the path for the U.S. But this should be the U.S. Like, we've seen some upsets. We've seen some unexpected games go to PKs. Hopefully U.S. does not find themselves in that boat today.
Yeah, hopefully not. And hopefully this offense continues to be a staple for them. We've talked about this with Wijnaldum. We've covered it a lot. This American team has been very, very strong on offense. And if there is a downside for Bosnia, and a lot of it stems from one result, but still, their expected goals against has not been very pretty. They have given up some high-quality looks so far throughout this tournament and some goals in terms of the results as well. So if there was going to be a path, one would assume that it is for this group to go out there and get it done. But again, a lot of it stems probably for Bosnia in terms of their statistics from the 4-1 loss to Switzerland. So we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. But they have been given up opportunities. I thought they were a play to the game against Canada as well. And this should set up nicely for the American offense to continue to churn out some of the production that we've seen from them.
Also, according to The Athletic and other publications, this game is poised to be the most bet World Cup game in American betting history. Johnny Avello, sportsbook director over at DraftKings, said the handle is on track to surpass March Madness. John Ewing, spokesperson at BetMGM, said the 2022 final in the World Cup between France and Argentina is the only World Cup game at their sportsbook that's had a handle higher than the 3 U.S. group stage games that we have had already to this point. So this game is supposed to blow all of those out of the water. And shocker, nearly all of the action in some way, shape, or form is on the U.S.
I was going to say, the price has climbed quite a bit. Yep. So it kind of speaks to where we're at here with this American group and where the betting market is right now. We'll hear from Wijnaldum again a little bit later on the way this thing might get played. Sounds like he thinks this might go over the total of 2.5. But feel good about him. Similar to yesterday, except different price, right? We talked about this at the end of the show. I said, I think Mexico can do it, but I'm not going to bet it because I got to wash my hands of it. Same thing here. Think USA. I'm going to go on a big limb and say the minus 255 favorite on the three-way is going to be able to get this done. But I think they might be able to give it a stab at the spread as well.
And I did lay it.
There you go.
That's in the account.
You're a true American.
I also tailed Wijnaldum on his exact score. I did a quarter unit play on that prop, so we'll discuss that at length a little bit later on. But we are just getting started here on Money Moves. So much more to come. Diving into Major League Baseball when we return. Stick around to VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It's that time of year. Circus football contests are open, and you don't have to live here in Las Vegas to play. After your required in-person registration, Winner Circle Proxy will take care of the rest, handling your weekly submissions so you can make your picks from anywhere in the country. Winner Circle Proxy, VSiN's preferred proxy service. One trip to Vegas, play all season long from anywhere. Schedule your appointment today at winnercircleproxy.com. That's the time of year for football contest season. It's also the time of year for Major League Baseball as we are officially at the halfway point. We're nearing the All-Star break. Busy day in MLB yesterday as we welcome you back here to Money Moves JVT. Found it at least somewhat funny following the last 2 days of how much we have talked about those Red Sox bets to make the playoffs, that we get a Boston brawl in an 8-1 loss to the Nationals of all teams yesterday. But really interesting scene out there for, I guess, Cade Cavalli was pissed off at Wilson Contreras for crossing in front of him when he was trying to leave the mound early on in the game, and then later on strikes him out. Talks a little trash saying, "Sit down, boy," which led to a benches clearing situation.
And with Contreras throwing his helmet at him as well.
Yes.
Disappointed by Cavalli, too, in the post game where he says, "I didn't say anything." Like, we heard what you said. Like, just stop.
It was on the mic, dude.
Yeah, it's absolutely stupid. So good baseball, as we know, and sometimes these things can be lame where you just get two guys jawing at each other and then the bullpens jog out for some reason, for no reason whatsoever, actually, I should say. But to your point, it is topical. As we've talked about this Red Sox team trying to turn things around, you're not going to win every single game. So coming off of that and hopefully you don't string together some losses here if you're the Boston Red Sox, because I do believe that there is something to be said about this American League where you can get. And this is a winnable series for you as well. You took the first one 6-3. Now let's see if you can bounce back, steal the series from the Nationals before this thing ends. And I think next up, what do they got? They're on the road trip starting with Anaheim. So you've got to be like, these are the series. You got to take these things if you're going to be a team like I think you can.
Meanwhile, the Tampa Bay Rays stringing together a handful of wins. We're out to 6 now following a 10-4 victory over the Royals yesterday. Junior Caminero goes yard for the 5th straight game as well. I mean, listen to some of these numbers, JVT, just going through recent game logs. Last 7 games, 13 hits, 8 of which have gone the distance, 18 RBI. This dude's been awesome.
He's been great. And so that's what I was just wondering. I mean, like, are we overlooking him potentially as a contender for an American League MVP nod? You know, obviously, if you look at the way that this is getting priced, Yordan Alvarez has had the season he has had. But the Tampa Bay Rays could be the top seed in the American League. And so you wonder if that would somewhat sway voters to look more at a guy like Caminero, who has been playing the way that he has. Now, we still have a long season to go, but we're talking about a dude that so far has hit 23 homers, is hitting 294 right now, has been really good in terms of his discipline, striking out just 17% of the time. He has been tremendous, and so I do wonder if we're maybe overlooking it. And the fact that Alvarez is on a bad team, like if the Astros miss out on the postseason, which is certainly a possibility, will that sway some voters? And you're getting 14-1 on a guy that is hitting the ball the way that he is in the top 5 right now in Major League Baseball in total home runs hit.
I know Bobby Witt had a good day yesterday too, but also the fact that he's missed time with the injury, the Aaron Judge injury. Well, this feels a lot more open if you're wanting to take a shot at a double-digit guy.
I know, and what I don't get is the way that Witt continues to be priced. I mean, the Royals are awful. And I know that he has been great, and we have seen, I mean, my own Mike Trout has won the MVP multiple times on a losing team, but you're talking about a Royals squad right now that is 35-51, and in fact, as it stands, has fewer wins than the Angels. So, I mean, this is one where you're looking at this and going, can Bobby Witt win American League MVP being on the worst team in the American League? Yeah. Because right now, they are just that. And I don't know if that's actually going to be something he can really pull off.
Well, we have another game in this series that we'll preview in a moment. As we mentioned off the top, we're going to go streaking here. There are several teams today on losing or winning streaks. Obviously, the Rays are among them, but we have a game that's about to have first pitch in a moment, which is where we will start as we hit the streak open.
Get your birthday suits ready.
We're going streaking!
Because we're going streaking.
Come on, everybody! Come on!
Through the gymnasium, into the quad, we're going streaking. Let's have a little fun. So like I said, before we hit the Rays, let's do this Padres-Cubs game first. It's about to get underway. 2 streaks can continue in this one, JVT. Padres on a 4-game losing streak. Meanwhile, a win for the Cubs would give them 5 in a row and make them winners in 9 of their last 10. Can they complete the sweep at Wrigley today?
I don't know. I mean, Colin Ray's out there, and Ray, depending on what numbers you're looking at, probably not a guy that is going to be one you can trust. 4.80 ERA, the 5.34 expected. That means some good, or some poor, I should say, contact numbers. And we've talked about Buehler before. Buehler has been a guy that if you looked at the underlying metrics when he was scuffling the most, you can make a case that he was probably going to revert back to the mean and give you at least something generally positive. And Stormy, that has happened for Walker Buehler. He has been on a really good run, giving up 1 earned run in each of his last, I believe it's 5 starts. So he has been pitching extremely well. I think that if you're looking at something that is going to end here today, I think it might be this losing streak for your Pod squad. They should be in a pretty good position to go out there with Buehler and get it done. Given the pitching matchup, I think it makes a lot more sense to go out there and expect that this winning streak comes to an end for the Chicago Cubs, and that you're looking at this for the San Diego Padres to eventually come out and get this done. I like the way Buehler, I mean, it's hard not to. I like the way Buehler's been pitching right now, and you're getting about plus 105, somewhere in that range, and some spots as high as plus 113 on your team today.
Would love to see it. Let's get it going. Now to the aforementioned Rays, as we said, riding the 6-game winning streak into this one. Royals have gone cold once again. They've dropped 5 of their last 6, including game 1 of the series yesterday, 10-4. More good things to come for the Rays today, potentially. Do you think they can keep it going with Shane McClanahan on the hill?
That one, too. I mean, why not? This has been unreal when you're looking at the way that he has been pitching, too. So I think that for the Rays, against this lineup, you're probably going to have some success. But McClanahan's been great. 3.30 ERA, 3.40 fielding independent. He has been looking really solid. I think that if you look and expect him in his last 2 starts, not a lot of innings, but just 4 earned runs in totality. We've seen the strikeout numbers kind of even out here a little bit. He's had some bumps in the road, but for the most part, the profile's great. And against this Royals lineup that we've talked about, I mean, outside of Bobby Witt Jr., there's not much to fear, it would seem, right now for the Royals. So hard not to expect that the Rays are going to get it done. The question is, does Judy Caminero keep his streak going with the homers? Say probably not. Right. But, I mean, just the way he's swinging the bat, dude.
Never say never.
Yeah, you at least have to ask the question if that's going to be it. And on the other side, you get Lugo. Just to the point of that, Lugo has not really been great. 4.18 ERA. Expected's over 5.2. He has had some issues, especially when you're talking about the batting average on balls in play and the strikeout numbers. The swing and miss numbers are down. So I think this seems like a pretty nice setup for the Rays to keep this going.
We've got another potential double-digit streak in the nightcap. The A's on a 4-game skid. Dodgers best team in baseball in a 4-game winning streak after taking 2 of 3 to the Padres. Won both games in Sacramento so far against the A's by margin too. 9-4 in game 1, 9-3 in game 2 yesterday. Dodgers over minus 170 favorites without a starting pitcher listed. JT Ginn going for the A's. Plus 140 there. High total in that ballpark as they always are. Sitting at 11.
I've got, let's see, Fangraphs has a Charlie Barnes listed here for the Dodgers. So we'll see if that comes to fruition.
It's like I didn't see it on DraftKings or FanDuel.
Yeah, if it's Barnes, just 3 appearances out of the pen, no starts. So we'll see if that's it. You know how long he'll go. Look, this is a good test for JT Ginn, and this is similar to the Gage Jump thing. Like Gage Jump gets the first start of the series, and you wonder, like, hey, some of the numbers are pretty good here. Can he keep this up? And in comparison with his minor league numbers, he was not pitching at the same level. And in fact, he was pitching way better. Then he got exposed by the Dodgers. Well, here for JT Ginn, 3.15 ERA, but the expected number, Stormy, pretty much over 4. 4.02 fielding independent, 4.17 FIP. Some of the homer numbers, I think you could probably get got, especially when we're talking about playing this park against this lineup. And the A's lineup, too, this has been the kind of disappointing part about this losing streak. You look at the way they've been swinging the bats, it has been pretty inconsistent for the most part, not only in this losing streak, but just dating back to this larger streak overall in which they have been failing and have lost 8 out of the last 10. So I think the Dodgers are going to keep this going, shockingly enough, for a favorite of their price tag right now when you're looking at it.
The Braves have been going through it in the month of June. Since June 9th, 4-13 straight up, including 3 straight losses now entering tonight's game against the Cardinals. Losing all 3, by the way, on the run line. Yesterday's 5-3 loss to St. Louis to open up the home series. Braves sit minus 137 favorites with Reynaldo Lopez going. The Cards plus 114 dogs. Michael McGreevy. Does the Braves losing streak continue?
I mean, I'll ask you. You're the Braves person. What do you think? You come from a Braves household.
Every single day, I walk into the living room and my husband is pissed off because the Braves are falling apart like a cookie of milk. They have crumbled. So I would be taking plus money on underdogs more often
How's
than
he watching
not.
Those games?
Although I'll say, thank you for your MLB login.
Exactly.
Although I'll say when he and I were out there in San Francisco watching the Giants matchup, it was Reynaldo Lopez on the hill. He played pretty well in that game, so maybe he can give them a little something extra here at home.
I would say that, yes, it's probably going. One would think it ends today. Michael McGreevy is one of those guys that at some point he has to pay for his transgressions. 3.12 ERA, an expected ERA of 5.58. I mean, you look at some of the contact numbers and the overall profile for him. I mean, a bunch of hard contact. Barrel rate's pretty high, too. You would expect that he cannot just continue to do this. So I would say, if you're trying to catch the regression monster, you're using the Atlanta Braves to do that against McGreevy. And by the way, we saw a little bit of the ugliness 2 starts ago where he gave him 5 earned. So McGreevy, we might be in that stretch now where the regression is starting to hit.
Another streak hoping to end the Yankees, although they're down 1-0 right now to the Tigers in the top of the 4th.
Yes, and apparently the entire clubhouse has food poisoning, so that's not great.
Great. It's been 6 straight. Will it be 7? Okay, we got to step aside here. When we come back, excited to have Brian Ching join the program, talk through all things Team USA. Next.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Must-see TV since day one on Sunday. Already several thrilling PK finishes, a handful of upsets, as I mentioned earlier on the show. Hopefully Team USA, not one of them, although with Germany already getting knocked out as a minus 700 favorite. That's around the pricing of Team USA to advance today as well to the round of 16. Big game on deck against Bosnia and Herzegovina. We are hoping in a moment to catch up with Brian Ching, who is former U.S. World Cup roster, first native of Hawaii, by the way, to be named U.S. men's national team member, lengthy 12-year pro as well in MLS. So we will catch up with him in a moment. Would love to get your early thoughts on tonight.
Well, before we get to that, how about this stat? I did not realize this. This seems surprising. So we watched England win today. Yep. This is the first win after conceding first for the first time since 1966.
Really?
So England had not come back in a World Cup game since 1966. I mean, I guess if you're always the better team, right, and then you're always up first, but that is still somewhat surprising that a club of that level has ever come, or not never, has not come back since 1966 in a match.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. But look, I think initially I feel like the low-hanging fruit, like everybody else, and maybe this is buoyed by a result for Paraguay against Germany, in which Paraguay looked somewhat formidable in what we watched transitive property-wise a couple of weeks ago at this point against the Americans. But Team USA seems to be firing on all cylinders. This offense seems great. We're trusting that Pulisic is a little bit healthier and more fit, to use the term. So that's going to really help this offense overall. You love the coaching and the tactics, that they've been using up to this point that has helped them. I think that you're probably in a pretty good spot to get this done. I do wonder if maybe the way to play it isn't so much a Team USA spread, although I think that'll be ultimately where I get to, but both teams to score might be in the works as well. You know, if you look at the United States, one of the things that does stick out on the table when you look at some of the metrics for the expected goals is the fact that they're up there. They're a positive in terms of their expected goal differential, but it is still under 1. So you do wonder if maybe there's going to be something there too, that maybe you can give up an opportunity to Bosnia here while also putting forth your best effort.
Because you mentioned Christian Pulisic back in the fold, just for a little background for anyone catching up, injured his calf in the opener against Paraguay, missed game 2 against Australia, ended up coming back for that third and final game, played 33 minutes off the bench against Turkey. Looked awesome in those minutes, by the way, as well. Did say that he feels ready to play 90 to 120 minutes, however much he is needed out there, he's going to do that. Felt great in that game action as well. And head coach Mauricio Pochettino saying yesterday, we don't have another opportunity if we fail. It's all in, and said that they're treating this game like a final. So that goes back to, I think, what you said in their approach to this game. Potentially winning by margin if they have the opportunity to, because they are going so all in when all is said and done here.
And you wonder too, I mean, pressure wise, I don't know if it's felt as much, but there's some pressure here. I mean, this seems to be the best U.S. men's national team in a while. And there are some expectations that at the very least, you're going to win a game in this knockout round.
And it does appear that we have Brian Ching on the line with us, joining us again via the Progressive guest line. As we mentioned off the top, lengthy pro career in MLS, but former U.S. men's national team member. And as we're talking about our thoughts on the U.S. potentially having a dominant performance today against Bosnia and Herzegovina, how do you see it, Brian?
Yeah, I definitely, on paper, I think we should have a dominant performance, but that's why we always play these games. I think that the U.S. is coming off some strong momentum. I know they lost against Turkey, but they had maybe 2 starters from the previous game on that. So, and what I saw in that game, I saw the U.S. fight, right? They went down, they went up, then they went down, and they kept fighting until the end. And I think that's kind of what's going to make or break this team is how well they play together. We're coming up against the Bosnia side that is, I think, very mentally tough. And I think that the longer the game goes on, the more pressure is going to be on the U.S. to kind of get a result, and it's going to give the Bosnians more confidence if we don't score early. So I think the best thing that the team can do is kind of come out and try to get an early goal. That'll take a lot of pressure off of them, and I think that'll give them a lot more confidence. And, if they do that, then I think you can see maybe a 2-0 type of win. But Bosnia hasn't really been scoring a lot, but they haven't really been giving up a lot of goals either. Very tough defensive unit, and it's going to pose a challenge, right? And I think if the U.S. team doesn't jump on them quickly, it could be, some shaky times near the end of the game.
Brian, we've been so positive about this team, the U.S. men's national team that is, and so much about this offense has been talked about. I'm curious from your perspective, what is their weak link? If they lose this game to Bosnia, when they get knocked out, if they get knocked out, what would be their Achilles heel? What have you seen from them that you think is their weakest?
I think it'd be kind of a lack of concentration on their part, especially against a team like Bosnia, who doesn't really have a potent attack, right? Now, they haven't been scoring a lot of goals. And so, it would maybe be something on a set piece, something where they're pushing a little bit too many people forward, trying to get that goal and get hit on the counterattack. So, I think it's been a good sign that a lot of the forwards have been scoring in these games and making an impact, and that gives them a lot of confidence, which is huge in a tournament like this. But like I said, if we do not score early, then we let Bosnia build on their confidence, and then they'll probably come out and attack a little bit more. So I think for us, it's from the start, from the opening whistle, to put as much pressure on them as we can, and then finish our chances. Because look, when you played against Turkey was a really good team, right? I think they had something like 60 shots with no goals in their first two games. Right. And so, they came out with a passion, and created chances and scored goals. So I think, for the U.S. team, they just have to be very tight, very, very important that you're not giving up, a silly goal, especially in this tournament, because that's when big teams can go home.
As they look to get out to.
Sorry, in the past.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Sorry to cut you off.
No, yeah. So I just say you've seen that, with like the Germany's getting out because they didn't score and continue to put pressure on, the likes of Paraguay, and the Netherlands came out and really didn't put any pressure on Morocco. It was the other way around. And I saw some big teams, if you don't come out and impose your will on the other teams, and if you turn around and look at Mexico did a fantastic job from the opening whistle. They were all over Ecuador and didn't give them a sniff. And I think if the U.S. comes out with that type of mentality and that type of pressure, they should go through pretty easily.
Well, should they win, as the odds would indicate, and as we all hope that they do, next up would be the winner of Belgium-Senegal, Spain and Portugal also on their side of the bracket. How far realistically do you think this U.S. team can go?
Yeah, they are definitely on the hardest side of the bracket. We played against Belgium, in the warm-ups, and they beat us. So I think it's a team that we would, if we came up against them in the next round, would be a very difficult opponent. But I think one that, with the momentum of finishing first in the group, with the momentum of possibly winning Bosnia, would give us a good chance to beat Belgium. But beyond that, you're possibly running into Spain, which for me is probably one of the favorites of the tournament to win, right? I think France and Spain are probably the two favorites. I think Colombia is playing really, really well right now. But it would be difficult for us to get past, I think, the round of 16 if we do beat Bosnia this time around.
Really good intel, Brian. Thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it and enjoy the match tonight.
Thank you.
Brian Ching, everybody. And yeah, Spain is third on the board right now. France, after their win yesterday, gets even shorter, plus 184 short shots to win it all. Argentina and Lionel Messi, though, certainly going to have something to say about that, plus 430, the second shot on the board. And that leads me to another thought process on a bet, though, something that he was talking about, trying to get out to that hot start. Maybe you could do one of those halftime bets on the USA, something like that, if you think that they can get out there and score early.
Oh, like win the first half?
Yep.
Yeah. I think that would make some sense, too, for him. I mean, you don't have a blind faith in anything, but the faith in this side offensively seems to be pretty strong, and rightfully so through the first couple of matches for Team USA, the way that they have been playing. And if we're going to trust that Pulisic is in right form, then I think you're going to trust that they could potentially push Bosnia really early to get it. And I did like the comp to Mexico. If you watched that game yesterday, from the jump of that game, they were all over Ecuador, and then really kind of pulled the bus back a little bit in that second half and just sat on a 2-0 lead. But it's the way you got to do it, especially when you're talking about playing in front of your home crowd, to kind of get that going. That's the way that you can start these games, and maybe we see some aggressive pushes from the U.S., but that also means maybe if you're getting overly aggressive, get some transition opportunities. Maybe Bosnia finds an opportunity to get there too. So a first half over potentially if they're going to be as aggressive as we think they are.
Good to note as well, Team USA playing on American soil, so they will have the home crowd at their back tonight, which is always nice to see. That last game against Turkey, I feel like some people were freaking out. I mean, Mauricio Pochettino said as much in the post game, right? Like everybody's acting like we're like the other, like Turkey is advancing and we're not because we lost this match. But they've been on an awesome run here. We'll see if they can do it one more time to advance to the round of 16.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It's been a busy 48 hours in the association as we welcome you back here to Money Moves. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Of course, the news coming down yesterday that LeBron James will be returning for a record 24th season, just not with the Los Angeles Lakers. We'll talk through some of the numbers for LeBron James' next teams and the odds associated with that. But also, I think it's important to look at the Lakers side of this, considering we discussed so much LeBron-specific stuff yesterday. What do now Los Angeles and that whole group do to build around Luka Doncic? And it appears they at least made a move this morning.
It's not what do they do, it's what have they done, because they were busy this morning out there in Southern California. So the big move this morning comes via a sign and trade. The center for the Utah Jazz, Walker Kessler, relationship with Utah had kind of been all over the place. It seemed akin almost to Scoot Henderson in that they drafted him and then immediately just didn't really buy into it. I don't know. Kessler is a pretty interesting piece because we haven't really seen him play all that much. But despite that, Walker Kessler gets a massive deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. He gets 4 years, $130 million for a guy that has been largely unknown. And if you look at his career so far up to this point, Stormy, we're talking about 5 games last year, 58 the year prior. He did play 64 in his second season and 74 in his rookie year, but still a small sample size, 201 games total in 4 seasons is really nothing. But still gets paid. He is a center. You need that. I would say not as springy of a lob threat, but maybe I'm misconstruing what he is as a player. That matters because Luke, as we know, really does match well when he's got like a true lob threat. That's why Jackson Hayes now is part of his national team because he wanted them to play out there. So Kessler's going to be the big move, quite literally and figuratively, for the Los Angeles Lakers. Then we have a trio of signings for them. Sandro Mamukelashvili comes in, Quentin Grimes as well, and Colin Sexton. Mamukelashvili probably can slot in at the 4. He's a stretchy guy, shoots about 38% from beyond the arc in his career. And you can just kind of see the archetype of what the Lakers are doing. What do you do with Luka Doncic? Well, you surround him with guys who can shoot, kind of like the peak LeBron, which was just put a bunch of guys out there that can kind of defend and shoot, and we'll see what you can do. And that's pretty much the case. Austin Reeves can catch and shoot and create his own looks. Then you have Jake LaRavia. You've still got Walker Kessler, as we mentioned, who can space the floor a little bit, and then the addition of Mamukelashvili. So, look, they're trying to build a team that fits the archetype of what works next to Luka, Quentin Grimes as well. So we'll see if this ultimately works out. I thought this was interesting. Zach sent this over. Zach Cohen, our NBA handicapper, or Harvard handicapper, elite NBA guy. So over on Basketball Index, you can put together these starting lineups and give projected net ratings and offense ratings. The projected net rating for the starting 5 of Luka Doncic, Quentin Grimes, Austin Reeves, Sandro Mamukelashvili, and Walker Kessler is a plus 12.9, which is pretty solid. So we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. But the Lakers are at least doing a good job of building a construct of a team that makes sense around Luka Doncic.
They are 6th on the board to win the Western Conference, 20-1, 35-1 to win an NBA title. And to go back to the LeBron leaving element of this, I saw a clip of Rich Paul on the Game Over podcast with Max Kellerman earlier this morning, where he was discussing, even as recent as a handful of weeks ago, LeBron was still 80% thinking about just staying with the Lakers and finishing it out here. As the time went on, obviously that decision dissipated. He has focused, as we've seen in several reports, on happiness versus money. He knows that he could have made more money with Los Angeles, but found it more important for him to be happy and have an opportunity to be competitive and win. That little slight there at least leads me to believe he didn't think that was going to happen in Los Angeles, right? So now you look at the teams that he is more likely to go to. Golden State has been the projected favorites. At traditional sportsbooks, we've seen the Warriors as high as minus 500 ultimately to land him. At Kalshi, Polymarket and others, you're seeing 46% on Golden State. So they appear to be the leader in the clubhouse here. Cleveland, though, getting a lot of love as well if he could make the return, which I think would be the best option for you to win another title and storyline wise to have it all come together and close. Hold on, let me just finish. So I know you're questioning my thought process there. I just like the combination of what you would be paired with the storyline narrative all coming together, returning to Cleveland to try to win another title. And then Miami at 13% there as well. I know you are very much so in the camp of you want him to go to Golden State so you can bet the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yes, but here's the thing. To answer your first question or to add to your first statement, there is one team that if the reports are true that he's willing to go like veteran minimum, whatever it is, to join a contender,
It's Miami. It's who? Who?
Miami. What are we doing here? Is this your first time watching basketball?
I'm just saying because they got Giannis. So I'm saying like if you could add him to that full. Okay, just say what you're going to say.
It's the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are a really good team, is currently constructed, but they're pretty thin at power forward.
I don't think that part of his happiness would be living in Minnesota, though.
Well, I'm just saying, again, if we're talking about purely if your goal is to compete for a championship.
It's to compete and be happy.
Well, you can be happy as well if you're winning the championship. Which one comes first, chicken or the egg? Because guess what? That is a team that he would fit in. We're talking about square peg, square hole perfectly. We've talked about this, right? The fact that they're a little small at power forward, that they shifted in this direction of being sleek and agile, kind of sports car versus Mack truck sort of deal when it comes to the way that they have built their team. And you talk about some lineups now where you have Rudy Gobert, LeBron James, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards. That is a, I think I said Anthony Edwards twice, but you get what I'm saying. That is a starting five that is going to be extremely competitive and really fits one another very, very well. I think that would be his best choice. Now, will he choose it? To your point, I think you are ultimately right. I don't think he's going to choose the Minnesota Timberwolves. But if we're talking about actually going out and getting it done and really trying to chase that ring, I think it'd be a perfect fit for that group. I know our own, I was going to say, I know our own Wes Reynolds is already tweeting out AI images of him in a Pacers uniform. Hate to break it to you, Wes, but I don't think that's going to happen.
3% on Polymarket right now for Minnesota. You can buy it 3.5 cents. And with that, I mean, there's a lot of money in this market right now. A lot of people, there's tons of liquidity because people want to get involved on LeBron's next team. Meanwhile, another thing I found interesting with all this conversation was a comment from Brian Windhorst saying because he is looking for certain things and wants to be happy and is the belle of the ball right now. Reportedly, a dozen plus teams are trying to make pitches or sell themselves to LeBron James, is that they should be thinking less about what they have and what they can add.
Teams before in LeBron's prior free agencies had to plan for years, open up cap space, make 10 moves. Now there's a whole bunch of teams that might have a chance to get him. So what will the priority be? LeBron does not need to see your facility. He does not need to hear about your chef. He'll have his own chef. He does not need to hear about your training staff. He'll bring his own training staff. What LeBron is going to want to hear is what you do with your actions, not with your words. Who is going to make moves? Who is going to make moves to make this more attractive for LeBron James? Just because the Cavs have a good team, or Miami has Giannis, or the Warriors have Steph Curry, that doesn't mean that's how they're going to do their recruitment. Their recruitment of LeBron James is going to come with the things that they can do before they offer him that contract. And that's what we're going to be watching in the coming days.
So I thought that was interesting because Golden State, all they've done is have Draymond Green not signed for $27 million, right? Like that's all they've done to this point.
You also re-signed Kristaps Porzingis.
Sure. Yes, that's true. But again, it's not about what you have. It's what you're doing to add, at least in Wendy's frame here. And so again, I go to Cleveland. Do you think that there is a chance that they could be active in the trade market still and do something to entice a LeBron James? Like, do you have the ability to go and maybe make something happen in a win now idea and bring in a Jaylen Brown or bring in another name that could be available and then get LeBron on a minimum?
I mean, that would potentially involve moving an Evan Mobley, I think. So, I mean, you could, in theory,
move on from a young, talented player.
Yeah. So I think in theory you would maybe be able to get that done and then bring LeBron in on a minimum. So I'm not ruling out Cleveland by any stretch. I just keep going back to the main point. I was on Hard Handicappers today and I brought it up to Zach again. I just don't think a Rich Paul representative Draymond Green would go out there and decline $27.7 million if he didn't know that it was going to bring LeBron there.
Sure.
And I think you're doing the dog and pony show of like, I'm going to take meetings and this is going to be great. And then ultimately the decision has already been made and you know where you're going to go.
And obviously staying in California, he'll be closer to his family in LA and all of that stuff. But I wonder now, with the wrinkle of Jimmy Butler not being on the trade block and not having the reunion with AD, if some of those behind the scenes things come up.
Well, I don't even think it's behind the scenes things. I think it's also roster construction. Zach brought this up today on the podcast, which was just like, that's just a group that doesn't really look like it's going to gel very well. If we're talking about on the court, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, LeBron James, Steph Curry, and then whoever plays the two, like, I don't know, man. There's not a lot of spacing.
Don't love it.
Yeah.
We also got the news at the end of the day yesterday that Kawhi Leonard will be leaving the Clippers, headed back to the Toronto Raptors. We'll discuss that more a little bit later on in the show, because I know you are very strong on what this means for Toronto moving forward. But because you mentioned Zach and everything he's doing with Hardwood Handicappers, he's got a ton of articles up at the website, vsin.com right now, as we do for every sport. He's also covering Wimbledon, Adam Burke covering Major League Baseball. We've got NFL futures, college football will be here before you know it. And with that, we have a special going on right now here at VSiN, 4th of July special. This is something that will only go on through July 7th, where you can come join us on a full-time basis at nearly 70% off your regular monthly price, all in for 2 years of VSiN Pro for just $299. That gets you unlimited access to every single page on the website, not only the articles and breakdowns, but all of our betting tools, betting splits, all of that stuff, vsin.com/subscribe. And our betting guides, by the way, NFL betting guide out as we speak. We've got to step aside, but when we return, we actually are going to get into a little football conversation, an update on the Brendan Sorsby situation, and more.